Peas.
Black Eyed Peas, like a group. We're
No,
like a group now,
no,
like a boy band or something.
the,
That's what
the
you're saying.
the the song, man, the song.
Oh, okay.
25 years later.
Yeah, like 10 years later, man.
10. No, bro, 25. Trust me.
Okay. All right, guys. So good morning. Welcome everyone. We got full house today. We got special guests in the building today. Yeah, whatever that means, you know. So welcome to this um, live podcast for teachers and advanced students. Today we have a really interesting topic. And we have a full house. We have everybody here today. And let me start introducing by introducing one of our guests. His name is Eduardo Aguilar. What's up? Good morning, bro.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Eduardo Aguilar. As Teacher Cam already said, it's an honor to be here with you guys. I've been listening to you guys for a few months now. Sometimes you
Nice.
guys crack me up, so I was like, that would be fun to be there, chat it up for a bit. So yeah, nice to finally meet you guys virtually.
Nice, Eduardo. Thank you for being
Likewise.
here.
Thank you.
Right. And what our special guest too is Coach Gabriel. What's up, man? Good morning.
Morning, fellas. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me. It's gonna be something interesting. I'm pretty stoked to get to know you boys and
All right,
just
man.
kind of get the show going.
Thank you. Thank you for showing up. All right. And as always, Oscar Cruz. What's up? Good morning, bro.
Morning, guys.
Yes. And Nissan, teacher Nissan.
Thank you for having me, Cam. Thank you, Coach Gabriel, Eduardo, Teacher Eduardo. Thank you for joining us. Hi,
All
Oscar.
right, man.
This is all mine.
All right, good guys. So let's get started by introducing our special guest. I think Coach Gabriel was here first. So why don't you just give us a little introduction of what you do, who you are, like a little bit of your background, please.
Absolutely. Well, a little bit of what I do is I'm a coach, and I pretty much coach conversation. What I try to do is I try to leave everything pretty much organic. I try not to gear so much towards grammar. Um, I'm really deep into self-analyzation and what the whole concept of a coach is. At first, whenever I have a new client, their expectations is going to be books, grammar, and so forth. But what I try to bring to the table is I try to simulate what it would be like for this individual to be in the States and have a conversation, not just about popcorn, but about things that really matter through my eyes. And I've been a coach for the last 7 years, and I consider myself just a life changer, because I believe we live in a system of education that is completely rotten, and I think as educators we can agree the bureaucracy of schools if you work for someone. And I mean, I understand the process of marketing, keeping a client or a student, but there's a lot of things that they take away from us as educators that we know we can change better with the people. So pretty much after I was a teacher for different schools, and I just realized, I'm just angry at how these people want to just take money away from people and just fool them with complete dumb stuff about marketing and how your English can become better in the next 3 months. So I don't know. I guess I'm old school when it comes to teaching and coaching, and I love to bring real life to my client. I mean, perspective, money,
Okay.
love, all those things that gives us balance. So as far as the
Okay.
industry goes, my niche is I work very closely with professors that are either on a PhD program, any post grads. I really work with them, and I also work in the private industry, the car industry, as
Ah.
as an interpreter and advisor. So that's pretty much a
Okay, I
little
like
bit
it.
about me. Oh, I'm from California.
Okay, good, coach. There you go. You got it. You got it. Will. So that was a little like a brief introduction. There you go. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
So Eduardo, tell us about yourself a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. As I mentioned to you before, my name's Eduardo Aguilar. I was born in Ciudad Juarez, and I lived there for a little bit. And I was raised in Utah. Actually, I grew up most of my life in Utah, and I was going to school. I was going to college. Got deported when I was going to college. Then I got here to Mexico, and I was like, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. Like, and I just did the call center thing, and until like one day I was with my neighbor in Juarez, this older lady, and we were having a chat, and she told me she was an English teacher. So I started talking to her in English, and she couldn't keep a simple conversation going. And I was like, "Oh, you're an English teacher, but you can't keep a simple conversation going." She's like, "No, just I just teach them like shoe, zapato, shoe, and then they just write it." I'm like, that's interesting. So I started looking into English teaching. English was always my best subject in school. I like to
Mm,
write. I write poetry, and so I was always pretty good at grammar and in English and words. So I was like, maybe I can do this. So I went to school in Universidad Autónoma de Ciudad Juárez to
okay.
become an English teacher, and use it as a stepping stone because I actually wanted to study film. That's what I was studying when I got deported. I was studying film. So I was like, how can I study film and still work like a full time job or like keep this going? So yeah, I used it as a stepping stone. So I became a teacher. Then I moved to Puebla, started teaching, and started going to film school. And
Okay.
that's what I've been doing. I've just been teaching here and there. Right now, I'm living in Mexico City.
Mm,
I've taught at different English schools, at some uh, high schools, middle schools, and right now I'm at a school where I'm doing business English. For the longest time, I try to stay away from business English. I just like
mm,
I had just been teaching like university students. I like that atmosphere a little bit better. I didn't like the executive type of setting,
mm.
but right now it's been online. So I think the pandemic just like it. I don't know. It brought me good luck in an economic way. I started teaching English, like business English, and it's been going very well right now online to executives and things like that. So maybe I didn't want to be in that setting, like on site, but it's been working well online right now.
That's where the
And
money is.
I'm still, yeah, exactly. And I'm still going to a film school right now in Mexico City. And I've just been
Nice.
doing that, just using it as a stepping stone to do other things that I want. And it's been working out.
Okay, nice, 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 good. So, all right. So, welcome Eduardo and Coach Gabriel. So, we already know each other, like briefly, but we do. So, unless Nissan, do you have a question for any of our special guests this morning?
I don't know, maybe just a comment on what Eduardo said. Like, yeah, like uh, I'm fine with the business English lessons, but being in that setting, I know it can take a toll after a while. Well, some people love
Okay.
it, but yeah, I agree with you. I also find it a little annoying.
Coach Gabriel must love it. The business setting and the no, right? Okay. All right. Me. I don't know what to say, but because now online it's very different because now you can like you're home. But yeah, when I used to go to their office, yeah, there used to be a lot of distractions. There used to be a lot of like not because they feel they usually you teaching to the boss, not to the manager. So they they be interrupted a lot. So, but now with the pandemic online, I think it helped. It helped a lot because you can have their whole attention, with their headset and with their eyes on the screen. I think it helps. All right, guys. So let's go on for today's topic. Right? Today's topic is how to master English. I assume Eduardo and Gabriel, your mother tongue is Spanish, right?
Yeah, that's the first language
Um, what
that I spoke, Spanish.
my in my case it was actually both. It was a funny thing because growing up in a small town in California, it's a beach town. Ah, it's beautiful. You boys ought to go there one day. Um, I guess my mom suffered a
What's
lot
it
of
called?
racism and Santa Cruz.
Okay.
Santa Cruz.
So like 99% of the population is white. So you can only assume that at one point or another discrimination was going to show up. So I don't
Mm,
know. I guess my mom really just she didn't discourage us from speaking Spanish. That was more like a church thing. When I think of
mm.
Spanish before Mexico, it was church associated the whole time. But you know, I can maneuver my way around it pretty well. So I
Okay.
think me moving to Mexico, it helped me to master the language of Spanish because it's a lot different than it is here in Mexico in the States. So,
Okay.
when I have a client, I just try to relate to them. They have the fundamentals of English. They have the whole grammar concept. It's it's the culture thing that they need to be exposed to. So,
Right.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let me introduce Rocio. What's up, Rocio Pineda? Good morning.
Hi, good morning, guys. How are you today?
Good, having a good time. All right,
Okay.
we needed to balance it out a little bit. Thanks for showing up. Okay,
Yeah.
so the topic for this morning, like I was telling people, the guys, is how to master English. Coach Gabriel said culture. Like being culturally in touch with the language. What would you? And then Eduardo will it'll be his turn. But Rocio, what would you say? How did you master English?
Just as I was hearing you all, I mastered my English like what he said. I grew up in Houston, Texas, and
Right.
I was surrounded back then when I was growing up. People didn't want to speak Spanish, so
Mm,
my name is Rocio, and I was being my name was being pronounced as Rocio back then.
okay.
So I grew up since I went to school in Houston. Since elementary school, I was surrounded by the language throughout my life, and my friends that I was hanging out with. If I was playing in sports, well, they were black, and I was surrounded with Americans and things like that. So yeah, that's
Okay.
basically
So that's how
was
you
one of the
mastered.
things. Yes.
And also, all of you lived in the States. So, Eduardo, how do you master your English?
Yeah, sorry, there's some noise outside my apartment. But
Is it right?
well,
I'll
yeah,
fight
well,
and then.
I grew up in a small town up in the mountains. I grew up in the forest in Utah, and there were no Mexican. There were probably like five Mexican
Right.
families. I was the only Mexican kid in my grade all through elementary,
Hmm.
and it wasn't until like middle school till it was in middle school when more Mexican people started arriving. So most of my friends growing up, they were just white kids, and
Okay.
yeah. So I don't think I mastered the language. I think that's like a hard word to say, like, but
Okay.
that's how I learned English, and yeah.
Okay. Okay. There you go. So now, what's your approach to the topic when you give this advice to your students? How do you become proficient? Maybe not how you master the language per se, but how you become proficient. Who wants to take a strike on that? Who wants to say that? How do you be proficient? How do you become proficient? Not only learn the language, because I think from A1 to B2, you know, there's you can learn it on videos. You can take classes. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you're proficient in the language. That doesn't mean that you're mastering the language. So it's easy for or easier for a person that it's in the middle of a context of if you lived in the United in the United States. You have the context. You are surrounded by the language and by the cultural context. But for a person that lives in a non-speaking country like in Mexico, like how can they be proficient? How can they become proficient? Who wants to take a strike on this?
Well,
I
I can
like
go
to kind
first.
of jump in.
Okay,
Oh,
Rocio,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Well, through my experience, I've been here for over 8 years, and I started with elementary. I started with elementary schools, and it's a lot of difference because you're comparing kids with after I think it's after 12 years old, we have a different concepts of learning, and from 18 on up, what I've seen and I work with a lot of schools here, they seem to just do the basic grammar, vocabulary. And that's got to do a lot with the passive learning. Is a method of learning instructions where students receive information from the instructor. And I have made a lot of studies on all this because I've always wanted, to do what's right. So I've always I think that we need to do some active training in English skills instead of just the traditional passive learning. With the method, the learner starts with speaking actively. So that's one of my points.
Okay, there you go. Gabriel, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say that, first off, I think that's the most difficult thing for anyone who's trying to teach anything. It's how do I get this across? How do I put my pupil where I want him or her to be? If we dissect the public sector from the private sector, we have two
Mm,
different monsters. If we go into the public sector, English is going to be taught like any school subject. So psychologically, what it does to a person, they think of English and they automatically associate that with a book, something that's a subject to take
mm,
part of. So what I try to do is I said I'm going to save as many people as I can in my own business. So another thing that I look at is how is my client going to use English? I mean, is he going to travel? Is is
mm.
he
Okay.
is he communicating mainly through email? I want to know which of the four learning tools he's going to be most active on. And obviously, it's going to be talking. So,
Okay. So focus the purpose.
breaking
That's
the
what you
whole
mean.
focus the purpose. I mean, that's just the setting, but then you have the developing of the process, and it's got to be organic. You really got to know what you're doing, you got to know the context, you got to be the master student. So when you're giving this advice to people, it seems like they're just talking to a guy, because what I
Mm,
found personally is when I was a teacher at a local university here, a lot of the teachers compete with the students in terms of grammar.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
what.
I gotta be quite honest, I gotta be honest. When I came here to Mexico, um, I found out that more people know more grammar than I did, and I have a college
mm.
Exactly.
degree.
Yes. Yes.
I,
Yes.
I
Yes,
was
you're
so
right.
ashamed of that. I'm like, why do you guys know so much grammar? So, I mean, it's the little things, For example, if the student is called a student, he automatically is gonna put him or herself in that state of mind, So they're gonna
Mm,
have a lot of safety nets. So my job is to be the devil's advocate and just
mm,
take away all those little blankets that they want, like a book, a pen, a notebook. No, just sit down. Just open your ears. And the next
Relax.
part is getting them used to phrases. phrases, because what I've noticed is when I was in the I used to go to this little taqueria. It was so good. And the guy would always, address me in English. And I said, well, I speak a little Spanish. You can talk to me. And I noticed that they use phrases like, for example, shut up. They go, shut up, shut up. So they have the concept. It's like music. So our
Right.
job is to polish that and teach them getting used to the listening part. Just getting them
Okay.
used to the
Okay.
listening part. Kind of
Nisa,
find out
You
what
got
they're
a point.
into. Because
Sorry. I'm sorry, man.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry because maybe Nissan
No, just
gotta say something. No, it's all right. Okay,
okay.
but I do have a question. Like, so where does grammar come into play in all the learning? Because most students, like you said, focus or at least you base their learning, their learning experience on grammar. So, is it really beneficial? Is it really productive to learn grammar, or not at all? Or is there any point where you're gonna have to go through grammar regardless? What you guys think?
I
Yeah,
Well,
go
I
ahead.
think
Go
it's
ahead.
like when you go buy a car. When you go buy a car, the car dealer is gonna give you a salesman that's gonna maximize the sale as much as possible. Leather seats, AC, top notch. Well, I would I would reason in this way. If I'm dealing with a Spanish speaker, I'm gonna ask him grammatical rules in Spanish. And 9 out of 10 times they don't know.
Hmm.
These guys are executives. They make 40, 50,000, 60,000 pesos a month. But I would ask him, okay, can you tell me the difference between sujeto pasivo and other stuff? And it's like they wouldn't know.
Okay.
So it's kind of the same thing.
Okay.
For me, grammar is not so much teaching them the syntax of that, but it's more. Let's pick a book. Let's pick Dante's Inferno. Let's
Okay.
pick up a book that's
Practical.
gonna make you think. Practical
Okay.
stuff.
Eduardo, you have a comment on this?
No, I was just waiting for Coach Gabriel to be finished so I can comment. But I don't know if you got something else to say, Coach.
No, go ahead. No, no, no. I'm pretty much done.
Yeah, we try to keep it rolling like that. So maybe you want to comment on it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I agree with Coach Gabriel here. You have to. Yeah, I think that grammar eventually is gonna come, but that's not how you approach. That's not how you approach just the everyday situations. And eventually, because some people don't even know the grammar in Spanish, so how would you expect them to know it in English? They don't even know in what tense they're speaking in Spanish. So
Okay.
you have to know how to approach that. And
Okay.
another point I think is motivation. A little bit of what Coach Gabriel was saying too: the private sector and the public sector. In the public sector, you have kids that are there because it's school, it's another subject, or even in the English schools, you have kids or teenagers that are there because their parents want them to learn English. So they're kind of forced to be there. But if you are motivated that you really need to learn this, you really want to, that'll help you have some self-discipline and really get down to learning the language.
Okay. All right. Lisa, you have a comment on this?
Well, yeah, I was thinking of another talking point that we can address, which is the importance of getting to know your students first, like getting to know your audience, because
Right.
I personally think that any approach that works is a valid one. But sometimes first you gotta go. First you have to go past uh, obstacles that have to do with the student's mindset. For example, if you're working in a with adults in a country which is
It's not smoking.
yeah, exactly. So these people have spoken, like in this case in Mexico, they've spoken Spanish their whole life, so their whole worldview is structured like that. No, so sometimes they have certain attitudes that you have to go past first, like some sort of mindset. Like for example, there's this. I'm sure that you've all heard this line. The problem with me is that I don't really like English. Like many students say that, and sometimes I've found that they do have some ideological reasons for that. Like some of these people feel like English is some sort of a hegemonic instrument, like a colonial tactic, to spread particular worldview. But that's not usually the case. Usually the case is that the student feels intimidated with the language, and as some sort of defense mechanism, they come up with this idea that they dislike the language. And
Okay.
that's not true. So that'd be interesting to comment about. How do you get past that?
Right. So okay. So regardless of the student's profile, talking about going back a little bit to that, because I want to finish that topic. Rocio, what do you think about grammar? When should it come to play? When should it come? Like regardless of the fact that your student might be more conversational or more, depending on his needs. But where do you think grammar comes into play? Do you think it limits people or it enhances their learning?
Yeah, well, I have always had an issue with that because, like I said, most of the schools that I have worked with, that's what they apply: grammar, vocabulary, and it comes just this basic thing over and over again, and to a point they don't find an interest within. But I think if we move away from the traditional conscious of, like I mentioned before with the passive learning, to more efficient, subconscious, active training of English skills. Because I teach a school right now, and that's what they do. Once they finish learning the grammar and their vocabulary, when it becomes to do an oral, that's all they're based on, not outside of it. So they're just learning what they're teaching there at the moment. And once they're out of that box, they're back to level one, because they don't practice it outside. It's just what the school has there to offer.
Okay, Oscar, you have a comment on that?
Well, no, I mean,
Eduardo?
yeah, definitely. I'd like to quickly add, all the points that everyone, is sharing. It goes back to your question, right, Cam? How can someone become proficient, and how can someone master the language? And if you notice, guys, a lot of us have put a lot of challenges out there, a lot of challenges that the students are continuously facing in different institutions, right? So I guess part of our challenge as facilitators or as teachers or as people who want to help others become proficient is, like Nissan said, is overcoming all those experiences they have had, right? Like Rocio and Gabriel and Lalo and Nissan and you, Cam, and myself have encountered. So I guess that's part of the art behind being a facilitator or a teacher, right? How to break down those barriers, how to break down those walls, because we want to take you from point A to point B with all the garbage that you're already coming with, right? So it's a very interesting topic. I mean, there's a lot of little things that we always have to fine tune with our students out there. Always.
Sure it is. Eduardo, you had a comment. I'm sorry, Rocio.
You have something to say, Rocio?
Excuse me. Yes, Coach Gabriel did make a good point.
Yeah.
On when he mentioned that we have to know the student, not just things like that. So a lot of these schools, as we know, they're all just about money.
Right.
Because money for them, not for us, but just money for them. So basically, is that we sometimes we don't even know the student, and because of the amount or what have you. and they go on without. The students would tell me, "Teacher, I already know this grammar. I want to come out speaking. I want to come out talking, understanding it." And yes.
Okay. Okay. Yes, of course. Okay, Eduardo, you have a comment on that? I mean,
Yeah, it
on
was
previous comments.
yeah something that Rocio was mentioning a little bit earlier. I wanted to add. There's something that in the English teaching scene they say like be with the language. No, be with the language. You have to surround yourself with the language, like because it's not enough to be that 1 hour or 2 hours in the classroom. You know, like so. And we don't know these students, these people like outside of this classroom setting or in front of the screen, you know, like, and that's all the time that we have with them. So if this person wants to reach that proficiency or master that language, there has to be more done other than just take these classes for an hour and a half. No, you have to surround yourself with the language as much as you can. If you have the economic stability or ability to travel to another country and surround yourself with the language, and keep that English switch on. You know, like this happens also with many English teachers here that learned English here in Mexico. I've taught at some schools where yeah, everything's English inside, but as soon as we step outside, as soon as our shift is over, bam, then you go back to Spanish. Well, me in my head, I'm still speaking English, and they're like, "Why are you still speaking English? We're not at work anymore." And like, I'm done trying to like explain why, but you know, like that has to be like a mentality that if you want to reach this proficiency, you have to keep that switch on.
Right. I got it. Now, key question. I'm a potential customer for you guys, and I ask you, and I want honesty. I ask you to ask honestly. You know, how long would it take me to be proficient? Coach Gabriel, want to start, and then everybody will comment on this.
You're putting us
10
on
years?
the spot. Okay, you're putting us on the spot, Cam. All right.
7 years.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
You're putting us on
7
the
years?
spot, man. That's
7
all right.
years. Okay, 7 years from A1 to proficiency.
From A1 to C2.
All right,
And
7 years.
the
That's your
speaking
take.
part.
Right. C2. You think it's achievable in 7 years? Wow. Okay. Yes. All right. Good. And Eduardo, what do you say?
I think it goes back to what I just said. You know, how much time are you surrounded with the language? You know, like you have all these. I don't know. Some people say, "Oh, you need a certain amount of hours." Okay, a certain amount of hours where? Like in the classroom, outside the classroom? Like I really don't have an answer for that, man. I don't know what to say.
All
I
right.
don't have an answer.
All right. Neeson, what would you say?
I would follow up on Eduardo's comment. Like, how long does it take for children to learn the language? 4 years. So it depends on the amount of time that you are able to invest in it, and also how much do you get to be immersed in the language.
Okay.
And I just missed my point.
Okay, no, but I got it. Okay, I got it. Rocio, what? How long?
I think well, basically like the real basics things. I mean, I think within 1 year we can start understanding somewhat of the language. But I also agree with Eduardo. With how much do I spend? It's like me. I had to learn the Spanish language when I came to Mexico, and I did it within, well, at first when I had the meetings with the teachers, I was like, I know they were speaking Spanish, but it wasn't the Spanish that I spoke up in the States. So it took me like 3 or 4 years to learn that. So also, Coach Gabriel has a point. If you're talking about the levels that I can see we encounter right now with the C2, that's probably about the 7 or 8 years, depending on how much effort you surround yourself with.
Okay, Oscar, what's your take on this?
Wow, what's my take? How long to become proficient, Cam? Oh my God, I would say it's challenging to actually put a time frame, of time because it's multifactorial, right? And I think something we discussed this last night. I mean, it's multifactorial. There are so many factors that can influence someone becoming proficient in the language. What I can say is when it comes to proficiency, I would say that there's basically two objectives of why people want to become proficient. Number one, a professional one, right? Like Gabriel said, he has a lot of business people, a lot of business guys who they travel, they interact with American people or international people, whatever, not in English. So that's their drive, and they want to become proficient. And the other one is you will become a teacher, right? So if I want to become a teacher, I need to be proficient. Within those two realms, it's hard to say how long it's going to take, right, for you to become proficient. So I guess we can have a time frame. I would agree with Gabriel,
Okay.
7 to 8, 9 years to become proficient. But since it's so multifactorial, we really can't give a time frame like with precision, man. So it's a challenge.
I think
Okay,
I
now
don't
we.
think I'm sorry. I think it depends also on the objectives of the student. Like,
Correct.
because for example, if you want to become a teacher, yeah, it's gonna take you a decade. But
Exactly.
but let's be honest. Like, and this might be a little too anecdotal, but I'm sure you'll agree that most people when they move to a different country, it takes them a couple of years to become proficient enough in order to get by. It does
Okay.
like they're not going to be writing books in their second language, but they can get by. They can find a job. They can start a college or whatever. So it
Okay.
depends on
Now
what
we
it
work.
depends on what you want to achieve.
We have an institute. Okay, we have an English institute. Now, marketing wise, how do we sell that idea of from like between 1 year that Rocio was saying to 7 years to eternity that most of us agree on? How do we sell this idea? Because we cannot come and tell a student, well, you're going to be learning forever. Come to my school.
But
I'll
that's the
teach you
reality.
forever.
But that's the
Like,
reality,
no, it is
Cam.
reality. And
That's
we
the
got to keep it
reality. So
honest. But
got to
how do
keep
we
it
sell
honest.
that idea?
Now you just want some free marketing
Yeah,
advice.
you want some free
No,
marketing
no,
advice. That's
not
going to
me.
cost you, man.
All
Exactly.
right.
Hey,
All right.
Cam,
No.
Cam, I have something to say. It's just like I've seen people living in the United States, and to this date, they don't speak the language. And why? I mean, and they've been there over 20 years.
That's what like Nissan said. That there's no what's in it for me, right? There's no purpose. The job that they have,
Right.
they survive. Thank you, whatever,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
okay.
As long as they understand their duties for the day. It comes just like they just relax, and that's one of the bad things that we fall on, right? That
Yeah.
they just they just encounter right there in their job. That's all, right in their job. After that, they don't know what they're talking about.
But
Exactly.
can you be honest and tell students, well, you're gonna be learning forever?
You are. We're learning every
I
day.
learned. I was just about to say the same
Yeah, I
thing.
mean,
I learned
we're
it.
nonstop. I mean, I think that's the mindset we
Okay.
have to tell people and the mindset we have as facilitators because I don't know if you guys ever encountered, and you guys said this before, and I agree with you guys. When I first started teaching, I didn't know diddly squat about grammar, right? I could see the structure, I could identify the structure, but if you were to tell me how to facilitate it and teach it, I was completely lost, even though I did have it in my lexical or whatever, words of choice. However, you tend to find these people that are, they think they're grammarians, right? They're grammarians and they just know it all, and you're like, okay, that's interesting. I agree with you, but give me some practical use for that, right? And I guess that's where we start saying, hey, how can we change people's mindset so that we can at least help them try to achieve what they're trying to achieve, right? So I guess at the end of the day, it's multifactorial, man. It's multifactorial.
Can you pass a proficiency test, or can you get to a C1, or let's just stay there and C1 without a grammar course?
No, I would have to fucking. Sorry, I would have to. I would know, man. Of course not. And the teacher that tells you that is lying.
I told you he was going to swear. I told
I'm
you.
sorry, man. I apologize. No, not at all, man. You have to review. You have to freshen up. You have to see how it is, of course, because remember, standardized testing will expect something from the tester, right, or from the one person being tested. So you have to prepare for that. That's a whole different story. That's a whole different topic we can talk about, right? Standardized testing and how to prepare and all that. But do I have to review to answer your question? Yes, I do, man. I will have to review.
Okay, so what you guys think? Can you get to C1 and not take a grammar course?
I don't think
To a
so.
B, to
I
a
don't think so
B1,
either.
yes, no. To a B1, yes, without grammar.
I've been around people that have probably a B1, maybe B2 without having gone to an English school. You know, it's very common in the borders, in the border cities. You know, it's very common in border towns. Like I said, I'm from Ciudad Juarez. I've met people there
Oh,
that
okay.
you know, they grew up just watching TV in English or playing video games in English, and that's and the border town, the border life is totally different, you know, than if you're further down south of Mexico. So that has a lot to do with it as well.
I think it
Okay.
happen. I think it happens. Yeah, but also it has. I think it has to do with with sorry, which test you take, because some some tests are trickier than others, and some formats are actually designed to make you trip and to make grammar mistakes in order to expose some gaps there. You know? So yeah, it depends on the.
So I'm a truly beginner, you know. So Coach Gabriel, I only have a year. Where would you take me from 0 to what in a year?
I kind of like to go back on your marketing question and how do you market the time frame.
Yes, please.
You'll watch. Um, do you or do you not tell them? You do and you don't, because when you jump into marketing, you really got to jump into consumer psychology. You got to think about how many times we get bombarded by pop-ups when we're online. We go to the supermarket, we drive in, we see advertising all over us. So basically, anytime we find advertising, we either scroll or we just want to delete it. The thing is so hard to determine that question. Just listening to you guys are so smart. You know, I'm kind of overwhelmed by what I need to say or what should I say. But in my case, when I run my business, is they ask me, "Hey, how much time?" I mean, give me a ballpark idea of how much time is it gonna take for me to learn, and then I jump
Right.
into their level. You know, I don't believe in levels to start off.
Mm.
The whole testing process, it needs to happen because it's a system.
Yeah, the money
You
system.
cannot go one on one with everyone. So we play by the rules, and the questions are tricky. Oh yeah. I took an English test just for kicks, and I got like a 45 out of 100. And I never touched that
Mm.
test again. So
Okay.
I said to myself, if I was intimidated, can you imagine other people? So if
Yes,
you're level
yes.
one, we're being frank, you need to invest about 6 to 8 hours a day,
Hmm.
7 days a week, for you to jump to about a B2 in about 18-month period. So, like Eduardo said, well, where do you go? Do you move to Canada? Do you move to America? If you don't have the money, use online platforms. You know, one thing that I try to tell my clients is what you're picking up here in the workshop, you go home and you make a video of yourself, just your face.
Mm.
Don't do anything stupid because I might share it with you. So it's instead of writing like a journal, you know, like hi journal, today was a beautiful sunny day. I found a dog and it followed me home. Instead of doing that, put it on video. watch
A
stuff.
video journal.
And yeah, um,
Mm.
they tell me, hey, can I learn by watching Netflix? And I tell them no. Why? Because
Mm.
you got to understand the film industry, when it stepped out of Hollywood, its audience became the world. So the more explosions and the more visual effects you have, the less likely you are to pay attention to the grammar or to whatever it is that they're saying. So if they're gonna be active online, go to blogs, jump on podcasts, and do it in
Okay.
intervals of time. If you're watching a 30-minute video, your attention span is not going to be minutes. It's going to be possibly 3 minutes tops. So
Okay.
you're
That's why I
watching
love these
a 30
podcasts. I
minute
get to
video
learn a lot.
Yeah, we all are.
uh, so basically what I would tell you is, okay, what you pick up here, you got to take it into your house. I would ask you, do you have any little brothers? Do you have any little sisters? Do you have children in the house? The answer is yes, they're going to be your audience. You sit them down and you speak to them in English. They're going to build you up. They're going to make you feel like, like a boxer. They don't necessarily jump
Sure.
into the championship bouts real quick. And if you have no siblings, well, buy teddy bears.
Okay. Punching bags.
iTalki
Okay.
is another
Okay.
great platform for you to go on to. So in
All
terms of
right.
marketing, just to kind of hit the nail in the head. I mean, the time frame is really to be proficient in speaking because there's different parts. You really need to
And be
invest
honest.
about
Yeah.
minimum 5 hours a day. 5 hours a day,
Okay.
and it all depends
Okay.
on
Okay.
you.
Okay. Got it. Does anybody have a comment on that?
I can comment a little bit on that. I was living with a sibling, like Coach said, and I have my nephew. I think he was 17 no, 20 at the time. Within that year and a half, I spoke to him just English. I didn't speak to him no Spanish. Whatever we were gonna, and of course, him talking back to me, it took a little bit long. It took a little bit, like probably a month or so, because he had already uh, had a English class here in Mexico, and we were here in Zacatecas. So within a year and a half, he learned. I mean, to the basic. After that, I was correcting little. The most of the times we have problems with was the past, right? Pronouncing the past verbs with the ed endings, and so with him, it took me like a year and a half, and I have a nephew. He's 4 years old, and I've been here through the COVID, and he understands everything I say now. Uh, I talk to him in English too, but he hasn't been able to talk back. He just tells me little words, sidewalk, the sidewalk, things like that. But I've been with him, teaching him for over like probably 8 months. So yeah, also some of these schools, what they have is translation, and that is a no-no. Translation to me is a no-no.
What do you think?
I don't like it. Yeah, I mean, exactly, because you want to make them to think English, and they say, "How do I think English?" Well, you're doing all these translations, and that's never going to happen, because
At any point.
they're gonna at any point. No, I don't. No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. Does anybody have a take on that? Nathan, do you agree on that? Because I do think translating helps sometimes, especially
Well,
for adults. That they might help. I mean, not to translate as how to put ideas from one language to another, but to compare. To compare languages. What do you have, Nathan?
yeah, well, I also have different ideas, but this is not a debate me bro type of show, so I don't think it's
Why
necessary to comment
not?
on that.
Make it a
But
debate, man.
I
I'm just
think
kidding.
well, you do that. I want to comment on Gabriel's idea. Yeah, because what he said was really important, because I've said similar things, like like the amount of time that he mentioned would take to get to that level in that amount of time might sound, a little out there, but when you tell a student that, they imagine themselves, sitting in front of the computer for 8-9 hours, going over tests and exercises, and that's not really what we're saying. What we're saying is that everything that you learn, all the input that you get, whether you got it from a teacher or from online lessons or whatever, you have to seize it for the whole day, because the problem is, like, we have to learn, right? And now with the media and everything, it's very easy to be absorbing information. So we see a tweet, we see a video, we see a piece of information, and then we just go to the next one, and then we move on to the next one, and then we move on to the next one. So we have this idea that the more information we absorb, the more we learn, and that's usually the other way around, because everything just stays there in the short memory apparatus. Now, so in order for you to remember things in a long term, you had to focus on not a whole variety of things, but preferably the most importance, and work on them for as long as it takes. And sometimes it might take a while.
Okay. Does anybody have a comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Nissan. I mean, something a lot of us have said here, guys, is the input, right, that our students take in, it has to be comprehensive. They have to be able to grasp according to their level. So I think we can all agree to that. However, the challenging part, and I think Coach Gabriel and Nissan said that, is how to give them the opportunity for them to find moments to put it into practice and to put it into play. And I think that's a whole different monster we can talk about as well. So I hope you're writing this, Cam. I already gave you 2 topics for the next 2 weeks, man.
I am. All right, guys.
And I think
So
that's a challenge
for the next 2 months.
Next 2 months, right?
all right. So unfortunately, we're running out of time, but it is always a pleasure to, like I said minutes before, I love this type of podcast where we can learn from each other, because listening to each one of you, enlightens me, and I learn more than I can actually say, so I love that. I love that chance, and well, I know it's not a debate, but we don't have to agree, we don't have to confront, but we don't really have to agree. That's what it is, because we also have different points of view and different experiences, and maybe from a confrontation we can even learn even more, so
Yes.
that's why I try to disagree with you, Rocio. Don't take it as I'm an aggressive,
No.
because Nathan is my brother, so he always says, "Don't be aggressive to guests," But I'm not. I'm not aggressive.
No, and you're not. You're really not.
I'm just playing. All right, guys. So guys, this is coming to an end. So give me a last comment, please. Let's start. Coach Gabriel. Last comment, please.
My last comment, real short, is despite how abstract a language is to be given across anyone, the final test is the student himself. What I would suggest for your academy, for you guys that I do, is you have your client call the United States. You have them call Walmart. You have them call Home Depot. And increase little by little. That way they'll stop fearing the language. And lastly, just keep innovating, And thank you for having me.
I like it. Thank you a lot, Coach. Okay, Eduardo, give me a last comment, please.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good advice, Coach Gabriel. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just let it flow. I think for students that are really wanting to learn, something that a lot of students are hesitant because they're afraid that they're not speaking right, they're not pronunciating something right. So just don't be afraid and just let it flow.
Nice. Thank you. Nissan.
Yeah. I like, for example, from what Coach Gabriel mentioned, the concept of coaching, because sometimes we forget that this is the student's journey, not really ours. So sometimes we feel the pressure of trying to be these, the teacher, the source of all information and input, and but not really. We're supposed to be a guide, because the student is the one who's learning. It's his process. We do have a process too, so we become sort of codependent, but it is the student's journey. So I like that idea.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, Rocio, do you have a comment? Your last comment, please.
My last comments is I'm still going to go for what I mentioned, and you were going a little bit against of the cross translation is the main barrier of the most that we face when we learn a foreign language, and they will fail since it is impossible to think in a native language and to speak in a foreign language. So I still go with that. So that's just one of my last inputs. Still count.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right,
Thank
Oscar.
you.
Yeah, I agree with everyone what they said, man. I mean, it's a never-ending journey. We should try to guide them and help them the best we can within our abilities, and just be very honest and straightforward with them. Even though there is a framework that we can reference and we can use for them to have a ballpark figure, but it's a never-ending journey.
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. All
Don't
right.
be a suck up, Oscar.
No,
You
it's
can't.
true.
I'm
It's
just
true,
kidding,
man.
bro. I'm just kidding, fam.
Okay, so this live podcast for teachers and advanced students has come to an end. Thank you very much for joining in. And well, we
Thank you.
have a yes. Yeah. Somebody wants to say something?
No, we said thank you. I said thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. So thanks, each and every one of you. Thanks
Thank you.
to everybody that's
Thank you, Coach.
logging
Thank you, Eduardo.
on. So I will see you. Remember, we have this every
Thank you,
Friday.
Rocio.
So you're welcome to come back any day you want, So we'll be here every Friday, 10 a.m. Houston, Mexico City time, Central time. We're here every Friday. So thank you guys. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank